had worked for the state of Kansas, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, and so we sampled streams and rivers throughout the state. And we had a sampling program, the Governor's Water Quality Initiative, what it was called, and we had to sample Kansas River on various bridges up and down, the river. So that was back in 1991, 92. And but I never got on the river before. I just was sampling it off of bridges, and so I was just collecting water, and then later on in about 95, 96, a friend of mine, Mike Caldwell, asked me to join him on a float trip one time, and I just got hooked after that. It was like 95, 96, and I borrowed a boat, but then I went out and bought a boat to be able to do it myself. So so it was Mike Caldwell and Laura Caldwell also, who's here today, really kind of inspired me to get involved with Friends of the Call and get involved with the river. We had this float trip that was back in 1999 that really got me started, and it was a float trip that was called Moonlight on the Caw, and it was dividing the river up in several segments. So we would float a weekend on a moonlight float. It would sometimes the moon wouldn't be full moon on those particular nights, but it really inspired me. It was one of the best experiences I ever had. I had experienced the river down in these areas in Topeka and Lawrence, but not up in the upper stretches of the river near Junction City and Manhattan. So that first float trip was more of a inspiration for me because of the Flint Hills. The Flint Hills were in the backdrop of the river, and I'm a photographer, so I just started taking photos, left and right. And we floated about 12 miles that day, and then camped out on a sandbar on an island. And so the next day I was woken by some turkeys, and I got up and I took my camera with me, and I just started looking upstream. And here was this beautiful, looked like a mountain to me, but it was the Flint Hills scene that was just I couldn't believe it. This is Kansas, and it felt like it was like I was, in a primitive forest or something. It was just really, just out there and no traffic. I didn't hear any traffic, no planes flying by or anything like that. And so, that was probably what really opened me up and, really inspired me about, trying to keep the call the way it is and, as far as, pollution free and all that. After that was all done, I had all these photographs. There were slides, film that I used. And so we decided to have, presentations that we gave to various groups. And one of the groups that I gave presentations at Sierra Club in Lawrence and Kansas City. And then Laura Caldwell and Mike Caldwell actually took the slides and showed presentations to various groups down in Kansas City. We called it the good and the bad and the ugly, because there was the good parts of the river that we liked, like the Flint Hills scenery, and the bad was some of the pollution, or there was a dredging activity down in the lower parts of the Kansas River. And so that was kind of the theme, and we were trying to encourage people to join the club and try to, there was a cause to try to keep the river clean and try to get the dredging people off the river. What happened was I took so many photos that I didn't know what I was going to do with those photos. And so I decided to do a book, and I asked various members of the Friends of the Call and other people who enjoyed the river to give me comments. So I matched those comments with those pictures in the book. And then I published a book in 2012. It was a passion of mine to be able to do that. I was really kind of excited about it. I wouldn't recommend writing a book. It took me about 5 years to do that particular book. But I think it turned out pretty well. Friends of the Call is taken over by Dawn Buehler, and then she's done a really good job. I think that she's really progress, the organization even further than what it was when we were first starting out. She's getting the word out about the call. I think more people are floating the call, and you get more people on the river, and they, like myself, the first time I ever got on the river, I really appreciated being on the river instead of just looking at it when I drive over a bridge. So that's what people need to do. They need to get on the river to be able to do that. And our group early on started developing these boat ramps every 10 miles along the river. And previously, before that, there was only 3 boat ramps on the river for people to get access to the river. And so now there's, I think, 10 or 12 boat ramps on the river, which is really great for anybody from any of the towns along the river can get on the river anytime. We are still kind of fighting the dredging companies on the river, especially down in the lower section of the river. And I'm not sure that's ever going to go away, but I think we've taken a few of those people off the river. That's encouraging. The river's, it's like, it's a breathing person, I think. And if you treat it well, it won't, flood like it does, or, the dredging actually does cause these problems downstream. It takes away some of the habitat of fish, and I like to see some of that habitat come back if we can get, some of those, dredging people off the river. There's also, there's dumping activities as well that we got to try to stop. And I think that the Friends of Call, that on these float trips, more people are on the river. The more eyes are out there, they'll be able to see, these and report these issues.